Good evening and welcome to the joint Township of Lopatcong, Township of Pohatcong meeting. This is a special meeting on one topic. I want to call the meeting to order, and I would like to open with a moment of silence. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to read the notice, and this is a joint reading for both townships. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times and by posting on the bulletin board in the municipal buildings. Okay. I'd ask now that the roll calls be called. Would the clerk for Pohatcong please call the roll? Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
You're all out. Yeah, I know. Message you.
Okay. And the clerk for Lopatcong will call the roll for Lopatcong. Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Okay. I'm just going to a little brief statement to kind of encapsulate the purpose of this meeting. We're here to gain further insight into the mechanics of the shared services rules, which were promulgated by the state of New Jersey and afforded to certain counties within the state of New Jersey, and Warren County is one of those. There's no decisions that'll be made tonight. We haven't rights noticed any employees. In fact, there's no exclusivity arrangement between our townships, and actually some other townships may be interested in doing this as we go down the road. But I think what we're going to do here tonight is to learn about what these rules are. And clearly the legislature recognizes the problems that small towns like this have with high-paid employees and tax bases that just can't bear the burden of much more expense. And so that's what we're trying to explore today. We're going to see if we can come up with some kind of ideas. And I would like now to turn it over to Mayor Kern, and he has some comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to say that, just to echo Mayor McKay's sentiment, this law is unique that it affects us here in Warren County to participate in this pilot program to explore sharing some of these different positions that are in our municipality. It's important that when we do have this discussion that we make sure not only that we're looking at this from a cost savings perspective, but also that we are able to maintain the level of service that our residents expect. And I think we'll be able to accomplish that by at least exploring these ventures here. And I think it's a start by at least talking.
It really is. And this doesn't say that there's any prescribed mechanism for doing this. For instance, we may not agree that the way to do it is to share one job between two towns. We may say that, well, one highly qualified individual may serve 5 towns with deputies in each of those towns. There's all different ways this can work out. But, we want to now, get the start on this and see if it works for us.
Absolutely. Well, I think what we have to do is we have to establish some ground rules, right, for the joint meeting.
I think we have to make a motion to establish a joint committee in the joint meeting according to the DCA guidelines. I'd like to make a motion that we establish a joint committee that would be comprised of all 10 members of both Pohat and Lopatcong councils.
I didn't realize we were going to establish a committee. I mean, we have 2 councils already. What's the sense of forming a committee that's comprised of the 2 councils?
This is part of the procedure you need to do in order to get moving. So if we combine and we make a joint committee, that means we can meet, we can set this up, and then we can work together to get this going as fast as possible.
You say it's statutory. Is that true, Katrina? Can you show me that?
But if I could
Yeah.
Kind of give an overview, I think, Kevin and I were sorry, came from my daughter's soccer game, so I got sorry on Cap. I'm Kevin Benbrook, Pohatcong's attorney. And actually, Katrina and I were discussing the statute earlier today, and it is a brand new statute. And in fact, it only applies to, as Kurt indicated, it's a pilot program to the extent that it actually only applies to 5 counties in the state, mostly rural, in fact, all rural, I believe. And as far as I know, nobody has effectuated a shared service pursuit of the pilot program as of yet throughout the state. I'm not aware of one. So it really is something new. So the questions about procedure are understandable because everybody's kind of in uncharted waters. But as I understand the statute, as Katrina and I were talking about it, in response to the joint committee issue, there are certain procedures. I think, obviously, whenever you have a quorum, such as 2 complete councils here, you have to comply with the Sunshine Act and you have to advertise those meetings. And so every time you're going to have a joint meeting, that's going to be fully advertised, public hearing. I suppose there could be an executive session component of that potentially. But, you know, you would file normal Sunshine Act procedures. I don't see the statute as mandating that meet as 2 full councils every time you want to discuss them. In fact, my suggestion for economical sense really is a little bit the opposite. I would kind of suggest my council, subject to whatever Pohatcong's council and Katrina feels appropriate, but I was thinking that it would be better to have 1 or 2 subcommittees consisting of less than majorities of both councils. You can break down the issues along the lines of negotiating, economics of a possible joint contract. You could have a subcommittee that's going to handle like interviews. You could break things along, but you would have like two people from Lopatcong, 2 from Pohatcong. That way, you guys can get together, work together, but every time you meet, either on your own or with one of the prospective employees, you're not constantly having to advertise, incurring that expense, waiting the 48 hours to have a meeting. That's very inefficient. So I would suggest subcommittees along any lines that the joint committees feel are appropriate.
Lopatcong has a subcommittee dedicated to that. Remember, 2 members.
We don't yet, so.
Well, yeah, I actually,
According to whose department it is as far as subcommittees.
Yeah. So, but if we were to do subcommittees based upon different governing bodies, wouldn't we have to create a body to then appoint the subcommittees from?
You would just appoint, Pohatcong would appoint its negotiating subcommittee or its interviewing subcommittee. Pohatcong would appoint theirs, and then vote. You're also right.
Right.
You have people to talk to without having to have a formal, Sunshine Act, issue.
Right. So we have one, and you can.
Well, I don't know if you need a motion on it, but I think it should be our mayor and Mr. Becker has his department.
I would suggest whatever we do in terms of points today, take at least to a motion, just so there's some formality to it, and it'll be in longer minutes.
well, I made a motion to form the joint committee.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So,
there's a motion on the floor.
I think that this is important enough that as many of us should be involved as possible, because this may not be just one position, it may be 2, it may be 3, we don't know. And then I think that this is big enough and important enough that we all really should have our say. And I think it's important enough that it should be advertised, that the public should be made aware of what is going on and what we are trying to do. Because, again, it's for savings for both towns. It's important to all residents. I think it's important to all council members. I mean, this is what we're here for. So I would actually, second Lori's motion. I think that this is a big enough deal that we really need to be all involved.
I disagree. I agree with Pohat's counsel in saving money to, we could have 20 meetings, there could be 10 meetings. and to have to advertise for all of those meetings and make sure that we have the advertisement out in a fashionable time. That could conflict with a lot of people's schedules here, especially when we already have a shared service committee already represented in Lopatcong. So, we would go back to everyone, obviously, to give them the information relayed in the meeting. We would relay it back to council, so everyone would be aware of what's going on.
All right, the subcommittees couldn't make final decisions.
Right, that's what I was
That's
going to
right.
say, just finish up the statutory procedure, actually very explicit in this regard. The subcommittees will work together on, if you went that route, again, I'm just playing out there, this is a political decision you guys make, so from a legal standpoint, my view is you could establish subcommittees, you could go to committee of all 10, but eventually, if you did a subcommittee group, any draft of a shared service agreement has to be approved by both the Lopatcong Council and any Pohatcong Council. Then there's an explicit statutory procedure where that draft agreement, you have to give notice to all the affected employees. There has to be very specific advertisements with respect to that agreement. There has to be a public hearing, and there has to be an economic analysis presumably from the CFO, which I understand. I think our township share our CFO. So I'm assuming Lorraine would actually have to do a statutory analysis of, okay, this is where each township saves. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not suggesting that there not be formality. There will be a lot of statutory formality has to go through it. I was just suggesting that for just getting the outline of it, you could go subcommittees, but I defer that to the council discussion and just kind of laying out the statutory framework.
And I think we certainly would go to subcommittees, but as a whole, I would like to form a joint committee of all of us so that we have it already set up. We can call meetings when we need to,
What is the purpose? We already have two town councils.
because this
You're
way we're
setting
all
up a
working
committee
together.
that is two town councils to give it what authority that the two town councils
So we
don't
can all work
already have.
together with transparency.
We can all
We
work
are-
together with transparency that has two separate councils. Why would we bind ourselves into something like that? It's just.
Why
makes no
wouldn't we?
sense.
Again, I think this is an important enough issue
Yeah,
that
for-
even the residents should be present for these meetings. I think it needs to be fully transparent, and we all need to be here.
And so
I mean,
we're all
it's
on the
our
same
evening
page.
meetings.
Well, we can say if there's any major decisions that both councils will meet again, just like we're doing now.
Well, if we
Right.
set up the joint committee and the joint meetings, then we're set.
What I don't like, it's too restrictive because if other towns want to get involved, then what do? Add their 5 or 8?
Well, I don't think we've even got to that point yet.
Well, we can't go in the way you want to go.
Well,
So that's why I want to do it with
no, not
subcommittees.
necessarily.
Why don't we take a vote on it?
Well, this is my
Who's going to
question is,
vote?
though,
The
if we have
10,
a-
the 5, what?
Yeah, Kevin, this
What?
is.
No, you can't make a motion for the whole
This-
10. It doesn't exist.
Herein lies the problem.
Yes.
If you have votes of separate councils of this,
Trina and I were just discussing.
Yeah, how would that-
How would you even vote?
how would we-
Resolution.
Right.
You can't vote on it.
there has to, because if we're having a joint meeting, I think you have to establish that, or you have two separate councils. That's what,
Well, you notice the joint. You've
Yes.
done that. But you still, as you sit here this evening, are two separate and distinct
yeah.
councils. And so I think while you advertise the joint meeting for these discussion purposes, essentially at the end of the day, by statute, each council needs to take separate action to adopt any shared
correct.
service.
Yes.
So I don't really know in terms of the pending motion, because I think the motion is second. I'm not even sure how you would count tally votes on that.
That's
You know,
right.
you'd have to have 3 of them both, I guess,
Mhm.
or you have to have a simultaneous motion to the same effect for Pohat, and then take separate votes.
Well, let's see what Lopat does, and then we'll,
I think we should shelve that to our next meeting. I don't think it works.
I do.
No, that's.
There is a motion on the floor.
Yeah, and I seconded
It's
it.
an illegal motion. It's a motion on to 10 people that can't vote together.
That's right.
No, she didn't. She said it was for all 10. I just asked her.
You can't make a motion for both towns without both towns doing this.
And I make a motion for Lopat that we form a joint committee with Pohat. Do I have a second?
Yes, I gave you a second.
We already have a shared service committee. When we wanted to have double meetings in the beginning of the year, there was controversy up here because there was too many meetings, nobody could attend them, the cost of these meetings. So we've had a lot of controversy up here about double and triple meetings every month. If we do the shared service route, like we have a process set up here already, the process that we should be following, this would alleviate some of those discrepancies on getting here and having multiple meetings and spending the money to advertise those meetings. Absolutely, we have a shared service committee. It's a process that we have here. We've already established that. To go against that would be, we're not following our own ordinances and our own processes.
I think this is a really big deal. Like you said, nobody has done this yet. The entire state is looking at us. I think we should do it the
Absolutely.
most
And nothing can be
transparent
done
possible.
And no decisions will be made.
Right.
What we're
So I
saying is
made
to
a
make
motion
it
and we
work.
have a second.
It won't work with these huge groups.
Oh, of
You need
course it
small
will work.
groups going around getting it done, and then you bring it before the large group.
If we set up a joint committee, then we can meet as we need. We don't need to meet all the time. We can set when we can meet, and then we can set our subcommittees.
You still have to advertise because you have a quorum and all
Mhm.
council members will be here. So you still have to advertise it and put it in the paper and spend more money.
Which is okay. This is the purpose of these meetings, to be transparent to our
It is
residents.
being transparent to our
Advertising is
residents.
part of the cost of the business. That's it.
No, that's not
And
it.
whatever, we may have some savings down the road that'll counteract that, whatever the advertising cost is. So I think,
That's not the purpose to save money to spend money. That's not how it's supposed to be.
no, we're
I
talking
think you're
about shared
comparing apples to
service.
oranges.
No, we're
We're
not.
talking
We
about
already have a process.
transparency.
We have a process.
We had
We have
a,
I
we,
made a
committee.
motion.
we had a big
Second.
deal of hiring a CFO last year, and you guys did your shared service committee responsibilities, and you didn't include the rest of council. So now all of a sudden you want to change the rules.
No, I think you were there. Don.
I was not there, Maureen.
You were. 'cause
No,
was
I
meeting
didn't
you at
even,
that meeting. I
okay.
remember
Maureen,
very
you wouldn't
well.
even give us the people's resumes. You couldn't even get the resumes, let alone see the people.
Yeah, there's a
Just
motion and a
moving
second.
Let them vote and let's see.
Roll call.
I think it's big enough that everyone should be aware of what's going on. So if it requires a meeting, I don't know how many meetings it's going to take. I don't think it's going to take many.
How do you know? This is a big thing. It's gonna take more than that. It is a big thing. It won't take just one or two
Yeah.
meetings. It's gonna take like 10, 15 meetings to get this
We
together.
don't know that, and the meetings are going to be singularly one issue.
I
So-
think that the public should be part of this and to hear maybe some of the comments and their opinions as well as we go along.
And this way
Well, we
can
would
all talk
update
together.
every month of what's going on with the shared service committee
That's right.
reports. So everybody would be very well versed in what's going on.
I think this way we can all sit here and talk we can all talk together.
I think it's intimidating to the employees if they have to come up against 10 people every time we're doing anything. I just don't think it's the right way to manage.
And we have to race notice everybody every time we want to
That's
talk
right.
about them.
There's no
And for
problem
what
with that.
purpose?
We only have
There's
a few
no purpose.
employees in both towns, so.
Right, and it
that's
costs money to
fine.
race notice and attorney fees and
They
everything
have
else
to be
involved.
raised notice either
And if
way.
this doesn't work out, we've spent all this money and we've not accomplished anything at the end of the day.
So what, not do it in case it doesn't work out? That's
No, Maureen,
ridiculous.
there's a shared service committee already in place. The public will be well versed in it every month at our meetings.
That's right. The shared service committee was used in the past. You two, Lori and Maureen.
No, Mayor Steinhardt appointed different people for the CFO. I wasn't on that.
Right, he did, but he didn't appoint the entire
This
council.
is huge. This
That's
is a
right.
pilot
So
program.
this mayor wants the shared service. So he's appointing his shared service to do
And I just
this.
made a motion and we have a second. So we have any more discussion?
Because you have to undermine everything the mayor wants to try and
I'm
do
not
here.
undermining anything. I'm
You
trying to
are.
do this with the most
Just trying to be
transparency so we can all work
transparent.
together.
No, you're
So I'm not
hiding
sure what the
behind
argument is
transparency.
down
is
I'm
what
not
you're
hiding
doing.
behind transparency by wanting to have a joint meeting with 10 people.
You're hiding behind
I
transparency.
think you're hiding, Donna.
Not
Please
at all.
move forward.
Not in the least bit.
Yeah.
Yes,
bit.
you just, yeah, because it was okay when you did it, but now it's not okay when the new
I
mayor
would like
wants
to
to do
ask
it.
everybody to have some decorum and not embarrass ourselves in front of Pohatcong.
Yeah, no one's embarrassing themselves.
There's a motion and a second.
We already have a process.
Call it.
Councilman Belcarra.
I think it's not a bad idea. I think we should go forward with that, yes.
Councilwoman McKay.
Yes.
Of course.
Councilwoman Schneider.
No,
Council President Schiff.
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
No.
Marla,
We
please.
need comments, Marla, from the audience. Thank you.
This is huge. Again, this is huge. The governor's office, the lieutenant governors are all looking at us. We need to do this the best possible way.
Well, I guess we'll enter. Somebody have to make a motion saying that. Let me just say, I don't know, maybe we're all fighting a little bit over, not fighting, but having discussion over substance. So I think, we can still have a motion. You guys, we as Pohatcong Township introduce a similar motion, so, okay, so a joint committee of everybody's established.
And then establish
We can still make
subcommittee.
subcommittees of
Okay.
that joint
Yes.
committee, so why don't we look at it that way, not maybe everybody's goals are met.
Yes.
So why don't somebody on our council make a motion to join the, to establish a joint committee with Lopatcong, that would be our motion. Or to discuss shared services. Okay, that's the motion. That'll be out in the minutes. If somebody wants to make that motion, we can kind of keep this process moving. And we have our, I think it's still few large meetings.
And then
Yeah,
mostly
yeah, exactly.
subcommittees.
Very few large meetings, yes, very few.
Very few.
They still talk about.
As few as possible.
As few as possible, okay. Okay. Anyone?
Make the motion.
I'll move it.
Second. Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Black?
Yes.
Van Loo?
No.
Angeli?
I have to qualify that too. I fear that this joint committee will never have the subcommittee
That's right.
because of the extreme way people want to have this joint committee of the two. So that's what I'm.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm all in favor of saving money, but under this atmosphere, I don't think we're gonna save anything.
It's hot.
Gee, Rick, it's hot.
And the door's open.
What's
You want to save money, which is commendable, to save money. But whole act, we're running efficiently now.
here, Sal, just yay or nay, and then we'll talk philosophically later.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll talk. I'll vote for it.
Mayor Kern.
All right, yes.
So we'll have round one for Steve. All right, so now you guys, so we have a joint committee, and you guys can discuss tonight if you want to establish some
Subcommittees.
of that
Okay.
Right.
committee.
Well, we need to, I guess, establish a chair and a vice chair.
We already have a shared service
Wait,
in place. Why would we deviate against the shared service appointed by the mayor?
for this joint
Because
committee.
it's a shared
we
service.
have
This is a shared service. We're trying to get shared services. We have a shared service committee. That's what we have it
We
for.
have it.
Right now.
It's already in power, it's already in place.
I know, we just set up a joint committee, now we need to put people in charge of the committee so they can run the
Well,
meetings.
actually, in shared service agreements we've worked on, and we have,
Mhm.
we have not had that.
Right.
It was subcommittees, or
Mhm.
whatever
Yes.
you want to call it.
That's how it's
And
always
it's
done.
Yes, we don't need a chair.
Two people from
Right.
that side and working out the agreement. No chairperson, no vice chairperson. I don't know why you want to be so stringent as far as, who's in charge.
Well, it would be in charge of this,
It's
so
not
who
like we're
would,
doing a
right.
South Florida Police Commission, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. We're just thinking, so whoever would run the meetings and.
We don't need to run a meeting. That's why we have everybody together. Because there's nobody you wanted everybody to be involved. So if everyone's involved, then why have a chair and a sub-chair?
Somebody needs to run the meeting.
We don't, somebody doesn't need to run the meeting. We're all big girls and boys. We know what we're doing to run a meeting.
Okay,
This meeting was held here and Mayor McKay opened the meeting
Right.
and the meeting. So perhaps you want to just alternate each meeting, and one meeting, Mayor Kern is in charge and he opens the meeting and he runs the meeting. And then the next meeting will be Mayor McKay again, and it's just back and forth just for open public meetings, stuff. And everyone will be here at the meeting when you have a
Right.
meeting and you'll all have a voice, but just for, that way no one town is in charge. And if you wanted to alternate where you held it, you could do
Right.
that too.
Make it so.
Yes,
That can be all in favor, but that's okay.
yes.
If your clerk, the clerk just call on and say, well,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mike, you go over here.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed?
That's all fine. Okay, so that's. Okay. Okay, you're up. You're in charge of this.
I don't know where to begin with this one. It's a totally unnecessary exercise of futility. So, I mean,
You guys have a subcommittee.
we have one, yes. And
That's the only, maybe the next procedurally, to bring us up to even with that.
why don't you form a subcommittee?
Maybe we should discuss here for a moment, just I'm going to start pathway, getting a subcommittee of, maybe two. I think Mary had a suggestion.
Yeah, well, definitely Frank. Does anyone else? All right, I'll do it.
Oh, I want you and David, because it's his.
No,
department.
Frank.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, you know what, I knew it, David Becker, I'm sorry.
You sure?
Why don't we do a motion, we'll have somebody place a motion to,
I moved that.
I'll second it. Okay.
Okay, and it's gonna be the mayor and the record.
And that's going to be a shared service negotiating subcommittee.
Right.
Okay.
Then I say Becker.
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Vizio.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
So now we have two subcommittees. What's our next step?
Well, the subcommittee should meet.
But what is, do we need to determine what they would
yeah,
be meeting on
I think
at
we
this
need-
point?
I
Yeah,
think we need to talk about what we want to discuss as far as position-wise.
right. Mhm.
That's probably the.
I don't think we can discuss positions at this point without Rice noticing people that are in those
No, we
positions.
can discuss
You can't
positions.
discuss individual.
Position, not the individual.
I mean, there's
I've been
only-
told otherwise,
there's
so.
only a handful of statutory positions available. There's tax collector, tax assessor, CFO, I believe,
Yes.
and clerk. So those are the four that this pilot program set up. I think what Mayor Kern is saying is maybe a little discussion of what of those four do we want to have
Mhm.
further subcommittee discussions about? And that would make some sense to kind of narrow it down.
Are you looking at all four at
What
once?
would
Are you
it-
looking at one before the other?
These four positions, what would it say? How much money?
Well, that's what we have to figure
Part of
out.
the statutory
Mhm.
process.
Until you get into
If
it.
there's
you don't know.
any preliminary agreement between you two councils as to, okay, whatever position you pick, then you have to undertake an economic analysis to answer that question, both for the councils and for the public. And you have to prove essentially that it is going to save money because all four of these positions are traditionally tenured. So that's the reason for the statute. The statute specifically is there to permit some flexibility with tenured positions, but you have to establish economic viability. So that would all be part of the process, examining salaries and wages and benefits for everybody, those types of things would all be part of these subcommittee discussions. And as you bring it back to the joint committee, that would be come to fruition. And you have to put that in an agreement, obviously, for everybody.
So we need to determine what positions the subcommittees would be looking
Yeah.
at first, and then determine like when we would want them to come back with their findings, and then,
I suspect it would
Exactly.
only be fair to look at them all. At least cursory review.
I would make I don't even know how we would go about that with the CFO. Yeah, that one's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
respectfully, we would decline that one.
Yeah. Wonder why. So that leaves tax collector, tax assessor, and clerk. Do you want to do all
Do
three?
you want to say something, Mary?
Would you like me to come up with an actual labor cost analysis for each four positions in each town, detailing the salaries and wage, benefits, taxes, pension?
Yes.
And
Of course,
then
yes.
I can give Lopat's to Lopatcong's governing body and
Mhm.
Lopat's to Lopatcong's governing body, and
Mm-hmm.
you two can share amongst yourselves as you submit.
That's great. Thank you.
Should I send that to both people on each committee?
Yes, that would be great.
Is there any way it could go to everybody?
Sure, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes. So what are we doing all three? Do we need to make a motion to do all three, or do we want to start?
Wait till you get the analysis.
Yes.
That might-
Yes.
Um,
That would be one.
Yeah, absolutely, because some of them may just be a
Well, then
look
we'll
at and no.
approve to give you, to allow you to do the analysis for the 3, tax collector, clerk, and tax assessor.
Gee, I mean, I can throw CFO in there too.
You already know that.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
And what kind of time limits do we have here? I think at this point, we should probably, since we're all here, set up another meeting. I mean, I don't want this to drag out. It's not fair to anybody involved, the people who are in these positions.
Well, I can tell you, I've had experience doing this with South Warren and with Greenwich, with the court.
Right.
And when we set dates, we got a deal done.
Yes.
So if we actually set dates and move forward with that, instead of saying, oh yeah, well, as the information comes in, we have to be a little bit, setting the bar.
I can get Lopatcong tomorrow, I can get Pohatcong on Friday.
There we go.
Now, don't forget, Lopat, they're building a housing development now by Phillipsburg Mall. That's another 250 homes. So we have to take that into consideration too. Where we should start is number one is the schools. That should be number one. Not here. We're peanuts.
That is true.
Then it should be the county tax.
We get the most heat.
Yes, we do. We get all the grief. None of the money.
Well, we're not peanuts.
Yeah.
We're not peanuts here. We're 12 million plus in debt. That's not peanuts for us.
Yeah.
So I guess what we need to do, so Lorraine's gonna, just so I can get my bearings here, Lorraine's gonna get the report, she's gonna give it to everybody. The subcommittees, I guess, are gonna sit down and review them. Do we need to meet them for the subcommittee to tell us what positions we think we should look at? And again, that is our decision as a whole, correct?
Yeah,
We haven't established that.
So we should probably establish that.
Why should we establish that?
So we
Maybe
can
the
move forward.
subcommittee should be able to
So
do
we
that.
can move forward if we're all gonna look at this. We don't need to look.
I don't want to, make the subcommittee superfluous by taking over all the decision-making. They have certain decision-making they want to make. They're going to be in on the nitty-gritty
I
of
think
this.
this decision on this is too big to have, I mean, it's gonna require a vote of all council.
It
The
will
final
require a
vote, yes,
vote,
but I
but that's
think-
the final vote.
They're going to gather the information, do the interviews, look at
No, I would
qualifications.
want us all to do the interviews. No, I'll object to that.
All 10 people are going to interview
Yes.
each person.
Also, we should all be there for the interviews. We could have somebody running the interview. I think we should also, when we get to that point, we should establish that we should submit our questions. They should be looked at by the attorneys. And then at that point, we should be asking the same questions of the same people. Have somebody run the interviews, but everybody should be there to hear the answers. So this way we can make an informed decision.
Well, we certainly did not do that when we hired our CFO, and you were okay with that.
No, we were there for the interview.
No, we were there for the second round of interviews. The shared service committee went through all of the applications. They decided which people they were going to interview. They interviewed them, and then they brought them to the rest of council.
And
So
you hired
you're
somebody
okay with that
full-time.
for that, so let's do it for the
You
same.
received all the resumes because
No,
you
I didn't.
requested them from me. Yes, you did. I
It's
sent them.
yeah, it's completely irrelevant to this case.
It's not
We know who it
irrelevant.
is. Right,
There's 2 people.
yes.
Right.
So that's what you have to decide. Is
Right.
everyone gonna interview these 2 people, or is the
Not everyone.
Exactly.
No, I think it's too many.
Well,
It's
then
too
how are
many
we gonna
people.
make a decision if we don't ever talk to them?
Wait,
I think Mayor Kern was on to something, I think you all were, but I think the first thing,
Mm-hmm.
given Lorraine's timeframe, she's, as usual, is going to be working pretty quickly here, it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like. So maybe, set the date for a month or 6 weeks from now for everybody. And then when Lorraine circulates the numbers, the subcommittee people can talk amongst themselves and at least get some preliminary ideas so that
Mhm.
there's, and then circulate those to their respective councils.
Well,
And so at least the subcommittee
yeah.
got some work in, and we have a date for everybody.
Right.
And we go from there.
they can make their recommendations to say, we need
Otherwise, we're all
this
just get
position
bogged down
or
by
this
that.
position,
Right.
and then everyone as a whole can decide.
Yeah, because
you're
the
right.
committee would suggest it to the body,
Right.
and then the body ultimately makes the vote. We've had that happen in our council where the committee comes forward
I would say,
sometimes.
By the time we get to the next joint committee, everybody can be able to discuss intelligently, okay, here's looking at the numbers where the savings are, here's what you might be interested in. at that point, you know, you could delegate to either Katrina or myself, or both working together. I mean, we've worked together well in the past and many other things. So, you know, we then reduce what you guys, the outline of your proposed shared services, we get to that point.
Right.
To a shared service agreement, that would go. So
Okay.
you're not talking months, but,
Right.
you know, you're right, it would take, you know, some period of time to work through this, but we said, I mean, we gave
Yes.
the whole person, the whole count, joint.
Yeah.
Then you guys can percolate us, your subcommittees.
There can be subcommittee meetings in between that time.
Right.
With
So,
whomever those, I don't know who Lopat is.
It's Councilman Beccaro and myself.
Okay, gotcha, okay. So Frank and I would.
I think that's the next move, is get another
Okay.
this.
right, get another date for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would also make the recommendation that when Lorraine's putting together the
Mhm.
numbers, there's a couple other categories of things that she can give you information to compare
Mhm.
to municipalities. I've seen in some of the statutes, for example, there's certain statutes for joint, which you're not doing a joint assessor or collector, but there are statutes, and some of them spell out how things can be apportioned, and they give you some suggestions of things you should look at. For example, how many line items does each town have? What's each town's budget? What is your total assessed value of the town? That way you can look, and so you may say, oh, well, my employee works this many hours and your employee works this many hours, but at 2, and I'm sorry, I feel but to your credit, they're going to build more development here in Lopatcong, so maybe that's something we keep in
When
mind.
you get that school bill, you're all gonna move out.
So that might be something you can think, okay, well, Lopatcong has 3,500 line items, but we may have 200 more. And so those might be, I'll make some suggestions to Lorraine, and maybe she can give you a sheet of paper that just kind of compares that.
Okay.
So it may not only help you to see the workloads of your employees, but also how you might help your next step down the road, how you apportion who pays for what. So you kind of
Oh, that's an issue we haven't brought up. I assume we're dealing here is 50-50 splits on these things?
Not necessarily,
No.
no.
It depends what the agreement is, right?
All negotiable?
That's right. The
So-
statutory split. So I think Katrina's absolutely right. The more economic data you
Yeah.
develop, the better informed you will all be. And then the split will, I think, kind of make sense.
Yeah.
or won't.
That was gonna be 80-20.
The answers are in the data. The answers are in the data, definitely.
No, I don't think the answers are in the data. How do
Oh,
you say
yeah, they're
that?
always in the data.
What does that mean?
Because you have to see, like Katrina was just saying, how many people are here, how many people are there, what the workload is. It's always in the data.
So you're saying that there's a formula?
There's not a formula, but you
There's
need
not
to
a
look at the
formula.
data and then construct a formula based on the data.
Yes, Lorraine?
I just wanted to offer something else. One of the things that we've done this year in Pohatcong is that Councilman Becker and I have gone through and tried to come up with a quantitative analysis to determine the workload for each department in Pohatcong. So some of those statistics are already available in Pohatcong. I would just have to come up with a similar measurement to match in Pohatcong, so that we'd be looking at similar data.
That's very good. That's what we do at my workplace. Same thing.
I'd like, Lorraine, could you send that data to all of us
Absolutely.
for both towns?
If
Because,
that's what everyone wants.
Yeah.
because that would be the point of this.
Mhm.
Let's see what's what, this way. And if you have to send it to the clerks and they send it to us, whatever works.
Just to be sure, previously you said Pohat's information to Pohat, Lopat's to Lopat. And now I'm going to send all the information to all 10 of you and council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now earlier when I opened this, I just
Thank you.
mentioned that other townships are probably going to be interested in doing this with us. We didn't make a provision to allow other townships to join this. And I think we should. I think, we could get greater efficiencies the more townships that participate.
I definitely agree with that.
Something that down the road would be
Mhm.
negotiated.
Right.
Yes.
Right now, let's
Not
stay
now.
with two municipalities
Mhm.
trying to work something out.
Because if we work something out, then it precludes us in the future to work something out.
No, it
Other-
doesn't.
Sure it
Doesn't
does.
preclude-
No, it
It
doesn't.
doesn't. You can have provisions in there that would add in other people.
Mhm.
And as far as what would be what percentages and all that, that would be also negotiated. So no, it doesn't preclude anyone.
I think it would be good to start with 2 and iron out our details and then see what works, what doesn't work, And then if we do bring in a third or a fourth in the future, then we'll know, what to, what does work and what doesn't work. But to start out with more than two, I think would just be bogging down the
Yeah, it may set us
process.
up for failure too, depending on the townships. I mean, we're very similar townships in government, and
Right.
I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
The two of us.
It's a good start.
You may want to make on one position that you say, this is a good start, let's start with this one, let's do two
Mhm.
And then you try that first, maybe
Right.
6 months,
Mhm.
then maybe you say, we did a good job, but I think this next position, that one has a workload that we can have 3 towns.
Right.
And then maybe bring in the third town, it's not all or nothing.
Mhm.
I think
Right.
you have to do one position at a time, if that's what you chose.
Yeah, we'll look at it down the line. I mean, right now, we're
Right.
sharing
Yeah. Mhm.
CFO, so
We're not sharing the CFO.
It's not
You guys
officially
didn't,
shared.
no, it was unsuccessful. We are not sharing. We have 2 separate, it's the same person. She's not shared. You guys didn't
I
make that
understand what you meant,
successful.
That's
I
what takes me
understand. She works for 2 towns.
She works for
That's
2
essentially what
towns.
she's trying to say. Yeah, I agree, because just, let's start with us. We don't want to set ourselves up to fail. Let's start with the 2 towns, see how it goes from there. This is new, pilot program. We're going to be one of the first ones really coming out the gate with this. And then we, like Mary said, nothing precludes us from adding more towns if we feel we can do that. We certainly want to make sure that we don't affect our residents by jumping the gun too much.
Well, and to that point, I also think as we're collecting financial data, I think we also want to ask that all the positions supply us with, their background, resumes, things
Yes.
like that, because I don't want us to get into a situation where it's just about saving money.
Yes.
And we have,
Right.
And also job descriptions,
yeah, that's a good point as well.
yes.
Yep.
Which
So what
we
exactly
don't
would
have
you like everybody
currently.
to have?
Yeah, we don't have.
We don't have job descriptions. We have to get that in place.
Sure we do.
Yeah, the
Civil service.
statutory, correct, civil service.
So there's
Mhm.
job description.
Everything's on there. Yeah, you have some unique things, yeah.
Chart. We're the same form of government, though.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, list of duties, let me change that, not job description, list of duties, list of responsibilities for each person.
Some titles they have.
All the responsibilities.
Oh, yeah, we're partisan, you guys are non-partisan. Mhm.
It's Faulkner Small Municipality, though. Civil service,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's just you're partisan, we're not. That's the
Yeah,
only-
mhm.
it's a
Yeah,
good
you're
thing, not
nonpartisan.
partisan.
Mhm.
Nonpartisan, yes.
Yes.
But we have the same charter.
Yeah, same chart, yeah.
So are you asking that, because we're looking now at the 3 positions, correct, minus the CFO? Is that where we're going to? And you want
Yes.
all of them to put together their resumes,
Yep.
their experience, and basically what your job entails here?
Yeah, your job, list of job duties, functions.
Summarized, it doesn't need to be,
It should be detailed.
well, we
should
already have
know.
the civil service that we can
Yeah,
pull
but we
down,
don't-
anything additional.
Right, you need civil service in every additional job that those people hold. Because it's not just the statutory, there's other things, there's other responsibilities that these professionals do. So we need to have a list of those as well.
Right, as I said, it's coming.
Right.
That's
Okay.
more detailed.
What else?
The only other thing that I would mention is there's statute that sets forth this, and as this member said, you're not aware of any that's done it. I personally
Right.
one or two in South Jersey, but I haven't figured out who they are. They set forth most of it, all the way up to the agreement. There's a few areas that they haven't quite given an answer on regarding tenure after the fact, pension payments, some of those things. So I would just ask if this group would authorize Mr. Bender to work together, so we're not duplicating efforts.
Mhm.
I actually already have a memo about the statute itself, which I know Mr. Bender has already read in this whole committee, but I can't share it with everyone.
Yes.
And then maybe if we could just reach out to the DCA, if they could give us some answers. I reached out once and I didn't quite get the answers I wanted, so let's push a little harder now that we have this joint
Yes.
meeting, and maybe they can give us some answers.
It's like what they often do in Trent, they give you this, statute with holes all over it.
For example, if you hire, we all know that you can undo tenure of one person to let them go.
Right,
So
yeah.
now you have an employee working in 2 towns. Do they get tenure in the second town? When they're there 4 years?
Right.
Saw
5
those
years?
little, right.
Who contributes to the tenure? There's kind of, depending on your scenario, depends on who's the head municipality, does that matter for tenure? Does it matter for pension payments? Does it matter for benefit? You know, things like that after the agreement is over. So let's say you have someone and they are now making X amount of dollars in the service, and now the one town goes away.
Right,
There's a statute out there that says you can't lower their salary.
right, exactly.
Does that mean you can't
That
lower their
does, yeah,
salary that they were making for two towns? I don't think
Agree.
so, but it doesn't.
All those
So
details would be
I'd like
great.
to get all that stuff in writing. So, it will probably just take a couple phone calls, a couple emails to try to get them to find me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been asked before and they punted.
Mhm.
Now that you guys have taken this action, I think we'll be able to do that. I just want that.
Yes, should we vote on that, or?
Yeah, do we need to make a motion to allow?
Separately.
Separately. So I'll make a motion for Lopat, for our attorney, to look into all the details of
All right.
shared
Second-
service.
Second that motion.
Discussion? Vote?
Councilman Belcarra?
Yes.
Councilwoman Page?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Jessup?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you guys do a motion to have her do all the work too.
I didn't hear your name in there.
Yeah, Howard.
So Kevin, what are you looking for? A motion
He's
to?
looking for
It all depends. How much do you charge an hour?
We're not spending additional money.
Okay.
Okay, so we have that. So we need to set another meeting date.
Can we get all together with that after the meeting? It's a little difficult right now to look 6 weeks ahead and try and give you a date without looking at my personal calendar. So if we can all, email tomorrow and get a date.
No, we can't do that.
No, we
can't.
You can't set a date by email. Okay, all
What are
right.
you looking for?
I need a calendar.
Jim, do you have any, Because we just gotta look, the most important thing are the township calendars at this point to see.
This meeting is May 6th.
Yeah, what do we have?
When one town's meeting, you maybe do it an hour before, then you know you only have an hour left.
Yeah.
But that way you're not out too nice.
Yes.
Just-
Mhm.
Good.
That's
Our
not a
next-
bad idea.
Our next meeting
Building
is
Our
May
next
available.
meeting is May 6th,
Yeah.
or do you wanna, when's your next meeting?
May 5th.
May 5th?
No, well, yeah, we're not doing it before our budget.
That's
May-
my.
Isn't that,
We have a budget meeting too.
we still need to get something
Well, you could do it
done.
before our May 5th meeting,
Well, yes,
At our
we're planning a date, and the subcommittees need to get
right?
their
We
stuff
could do
done by
that,
that
right?
date.
Is there May 5th?
Right, that's not 6 weeks out. We just said
That's
6
3
weeks.
We don't need 6 weeks. She's gonna have this first by Friday.
Oh, yeah, I didn't,
No,
No,
No, that's
we
too
don't need
long.
6
I think that was kind of,
That's a bit.
It'll take that long to find out.
after,
Right.
yes, mm-hmm,
yeah.
yeah.
What about the 5th? Pohat's meeting on the 5th. Could we
Next
meet,
meeting should be
what
at
time is your
Pohat.
meeting at on the 5th?
I can't do the 5th. We'd have to do it before our meeting.
Our meeting's on the 6th.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got good
fair point.
budget
Yeah.
Okay.
presentation.
That's why I think we should do it in June.
I don't think June, no,
I think,
Yeah, May 19th.
May.
I think
There
June.
we go.
no. not
What
June.
day was it?
May 19th.
Today's May 19th.
How far, what's today? Today's, so that's about a month, May 19th is.
May 19th.
You're the chair.
We live in April.
We have a
Your
bigger,
next meeting
we have a bigger day.
Is your air conditioning working?
Well, yes.
So May 19th, at what time?
That works for me.
7.
What time is your meeting? We need to do it before
7, 6.
6 at Pohat.
Can everyone do 6?
Yeah.
Oh. This one over here. I think we got 6. We're good. Yeah, 6 is
Yeah,
good.
so May 19th at 6 PM. So we'll advertise that. And then
We got a meeting with me.
Pohat,
Go ahead.
and Pohat.
Yeah, good move.
Okay.
Yeah, good move.
And so in the meantime, the Shared Services Committee, Lorraine's going to get us all the information. The Shared Services Committee will look at the positions and kind of determine that. And then when do we,
What do we
I guess
want them
once
to do?
we want everybody who's the 3 positions to get their resumes and their job descriptions together. And then when we meet at that next time, I guess we will decide who we're going to go forward with and then set a date for interviews.
We have so much to talk about before we go forward with interviews, if this even is going to work. There's so much to still iron out here. There's so much information that we need.
Well, Lorraine's gonna get us stuff.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, and Katrina needs to research part of it. There's so many nuances that, I have questions on that I need answered, and I don't have
Signing
any.
the agreement, we just need to
I
have.
think you have enough calendar, there's a date on the calendar.
Yes, you do.
Calendar moving
Mhm.
forward,
Right.
And then you'll see what kind of information. you get, and then you
See if
can
we're ready
discuss
to
the
move
next
forward, or, yeah. Mhm.
What your process is.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm not proposing we go forward with hiring somebody for May 19th.
No, I'm not proposing that
No.
either. I'm
Okay.
saying maybe we
Actually, as
set
far
at that
as
date, a
getting
date for interviews.
resumes right now, I would say, hold off on those, let them prepare them.
Yes.
But-
We're going to ask them to
But,
prepare.
yeah, they should be
Yes.
preparing them, but
Mhm.
we don't need them yet. The 19th, we won't need them yet.
I think
Right.
you
Not
want
until
them
you
by,
decide which positions you're going to try to do something with. And I think that can be held off.
Right,
I,
absolutely.
Like I said.
19th's a month away, isn't it? Over a month?
Well, as
We're
long
gonna
as we
need
let them
these-
know that they need to put it together so they have the time. Yeah, yeah, this
No,
way
it's
there's no
not, but we need
surprise,
the
yeah.
resumes. I mean, what do we
Right.
think about?
And you give them a week or so,
Yeah.
they're not
We need
caught up.
something.
Right, exactly, because you want to put as much time into your resume as possible.
So why have somebody do?
All right, so we have another meeting set. Is there anything else we need?
Yeah.
now my
Anybody have
question
anything
to you is there two separate public comments now?
No.
it's just a-
Yeah, I'll open up the meeting to audience participation for both townships.
Good.
Anyone have anything to say? Come on up. All right.
Hi,
Hi. State
I don't
your
know
name
where
for
to
the record
start.
and your address.
sure. My name is Kelly Smith. My address is 3026 Hutchinson River Road, Phillipsburg, New Jersey, actually Harmony Township. But I am not here as a Harmony Township resident. I am here on behalf of the Warren County Clerks Association and the Municipal Clerks of New Jersey. I'm the president of the Clerks Association in Warren County. I get emotional, it's because this is very near and dear to me, as you can imagine. I've been the clerk from Harmony since 2004, so for the past 10 years. I hear a lot of animosity going on, which is very upsetting. I guess that's why our township's called Harmony, because we don't act this way. But I can also applaud you for what you're considering, because it is statute or legislation, and everyone should consider taxes. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a clerk, I'm a farmer. I do it all, I've seen it all, but I've never seen anything like this. So let me just start by saying I heard a couple things. You can't agree on a joint committee, so I'm concerned about agreeing on a shared service, number one. Number two, you're saying 3 positions might be considered, but then you also said you don't have a shared service with your CFO, so I think you should be looking at all 4 that are eligible. You know, she's working for 2 separate townships right now, so it's part of the bill. Look at it all. And maybe you can come up with some more savings there for both townships. I don't know. I have no idea who gets paid what in either township, and I really don't care. But anyway, another thing was you really didn't say, you know, any specific positions being considered. You said the 3, not the CFO, but then you're saying there's 2 people. There's 2 clerks here tonight, so I'm assuming maybe the clerk's position is the one that's being looked at closely. The clerk does a lot in your township for you. You have no idea what us clerks go through every day. We are the nucleus of your township. I'm a tax collector, I'm an assessor, I'm a zoning officer, I'm a dog catcher. We do it all. You might not realize that. And you might not even appreciate it. Some of you do, some of you, you know, like I said, you don't know what we go through. We're the face that your community first sees when they walk through that door. So, I walk through the door, there's no municipal clerk there. Her deputy is there, but does her deputy know everything? No, and I'm not saying that we know everything, because we don't, but we try to do our best to help everyone. So, considering the clerk's position as a shared service, I don't think you're seeing the whole ball of wax, and I don't think it would be in your best interest. And I don't know how Warren County actually got into this pilot program to start with, because there's no municipality in Warren County that really is apples to apples to compare. Pohatcong and Lopatcong are 2 different monsters, and I see that right here, sitting here, for both of you. So I just, you know, and listing job duties, there's no way we could list everything we do. I've already helped people that have emergencies out in the parking lot, you know? So it is what it is. Please do your best. Consider your employees when you're looking at this. You're not going to save $12 million that you're in debt by cutting a clerk's position. I can tell you that. She did not put you in that position. And I don't know what your position is on your budget, but, you know, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer anything I can. And I would encourage you all to come to Harmony to see how we run a meeting. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dave Lorimer, Lorimer, 809 Rugby Road in Lopat. I just wanted to make it known. I'm glad everybody's taking a look at issues like this. I'm a senior on a fixed budget in town, and it's very important for, and I'm sure you have the same thing in Pohat. It's very important for seniors and people on fixed incomes to look at every way of saving money. Maybe you don't save $1 million, but whatever you can save, it helps everybody in town, not just the seniors. I guess the only question I have is, out of any of the positions that are potentially could be evaluated based on the statute, are any of these existing positions currently vacant?
Can't know by statute, every township has to have all 4 of these positions. And that was part and parcel why the statute was implemented, because it was kind of an open question whether you could merge 2 statutory positions, and the best thinking was that you could not. So the statute created flexibility, but every one of these positions has to be occupied.
So as soon as somebody retires or leaves, you have to name them at the next council meeting?
Well, generally speaking, these positions are filled on an interim basis rather than immediate.
Okay. Thank you.
It's nice music.
Anyone else have a comment? Ma'am?
Hold on, wait.
Hi, Judith Forbes, 66 Creek Road in Pohatcong. I guess what I don't understand is, has anybody, or have both Lopat and Pohat determined that the people who are doing the existing jobs have extra time?
That's a good question.
Is there an answer that Pohat and Lopat can give me?
I don't know if we can speak to that at this meeting for legal reasons.
Okay.
I think that's part of what the CFO can put together for you with salaries and hours.
I was wondering, though, how do they actually determine that? I know that usually somebody would be going out there and sort of like a traffic study. They'd have to spend time watching the person, see where they take their breaks and how they spend their time during the day. So I don't understand how you can just do it on paper. I understand you can do a lot on paper, but I really don't understand how you can determine time. I mean, more so for perhaps for, we're only talking 3, but I do agree that you should probably include the 4th, because it could be maybe shared service. It might be 10% Pohat, 90% Lopat, but it would still be considered shared. So it would be in the same category as the others. So again, I know that would be expensive, because just like a traffic study, somebody has to be out there watching it. I just know, having worked for the state of New Jersey for about 24 years, that when we went from county to state, we promised everybody that they would save money. They ended up spending a lot more money. This was the court system. When Warren County went into the vicinage with Somerset County had a lot more needs to impress the rest of the state. But throughout the state, I mean, we ended up with a bureaucracy that was way, way greater than what existed before. So I would just say that as you're talking about including more townships, that you really look very carefully. Warren County had human resources. Once the courts went to the vicinages, we suddenly had our own human resources. A whole unit of probably 5, 6, 7 people just increased and increased and increased. Eventually, though, I would like to know how you're going to determine how much extra time these people have. And I hope everybody does ask themselves that question when they agree to it. Thank you.
Lee Rozicki, 56 Puddingstone Way, Lopatcong. Just a few observations. This new position, the way I look at it, and something for your consideration, you're evaluating Lopat clerk current roles and responsibilities, job duties. You're evaluating Pohat. What you're creating is a totally new position, a shared service job description. So I would suggest that you add that task. What is this new position going to look like? How is that going to be, what's the reporting structure of this new shared position?
That's all part of it.
How is this, the evaluation process? I don't even know, does Lopat have performance evaluations in general?
Not to my knowledge.
Something that's to your point, that the other thing is these will still be two different positions. Like the assessor will have to work in Lopat and file all the reports. The clerk will have to work in Lopat and file all the reports. You can't make one.
Okay,
Or
all right.
They will have to be separate. So there will be some sharing, and then
Okay.
they can take phone calls in other towns,
Mhm.
things like that will help. But at the end of the day,
It's really, yeah, it's separated
there's
for the
a lot of
town.
state reports,
Okay.
like the
Mhm.
tax certificates will have to be filed for.
Okay.
for Lopat.
Okay.
Luckily,
Well, that
like I
gives
said,
direction.
There's some joint positions,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
joint assessment, which is actually helpful to show you, and they're very clear about that.
Mhm.
Right.
Imagine if you had the tax duplicates, you might.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, you can't do that. Right. No, I got it.
There's a lot of
Okay.
guidelines too, setting who the town is, right? The lead town, we need to have a lead town and all that, yeah. Mhm.
Also, in the shared service role, I could foresee you'll probably have to allow for the time to, effectively perform the job. I mean, certainly there you want a cost savings, but you want to have, quality of service too to the
Mhm.
township.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a balance there. There might be, I think there should be a willingness to buckle down maybe, curb a little something here and there to make this effort work. So I think that needs to be instilled to our council people and to the employees of each municipality, that maybe some job shifting regarding the deputy clerk, shifting of responsibilities there to allow for a shared service agreement to take place. So I think that mindset needs to be put in place to try to make this work. The other reporting structure, I think, is a consideration that needs to be looked into, how that works. Evaluations, I mean, if Lopat doesn't have any evaluation, now is the time. And also look into the Board of Ed, we shared service our BA. I would suggest talking with the superintendent to see how that did. We did a year and a half contract with the Phillipsburg BA and Lopat. So you can get some insight there on how that all worked. And also, can this be done on a trial basis?
Minimum
2 years. Okay. All right, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I would suspect that the subcommittees will attempt to evaluate whether the job is presently being done by the person in there. And if they can't really get their own job done, trying to split it, I don't know how you can do that.
Sorry, no. Performance? Do you want them to evaluate the performance?
I want them to perform as whether the work is being completed. And if there's no sense trying to split someone's job if they're not getting it done in one place. It just wouldn't make sense to me. That's my way of looking at it. Any more questions? Marla?
Marlandic, 10 Byron Drive, Lopatcong. Question, I think it's probably for council. With this new common sense program, is there a statute that states if any positions are shared, they must be held by one of the existing people in that position?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You can't pick those. You're looking at an assessor, you have to pick all the assessors from each township. You can't go out and do it.
And is there any criteria in place in which is it a seniority, is it a salary? It's just, it's an even playing field. then.
Economics is what they bring to the table, it's the services they can render. You want to look at everything.
Is performance evaluation any part of that?
It's an economic issue. It's not really performance-based.
Right.
To the extent, well, can they perform in joint functions? I guess to that extent,
Right.
performance comes into play. But it's not an issue, and I don't think anybody is exploring this because anybody's suggesting that, at least from Pohatcong side of the table, that we have any employees that aren't performing.
Right.
It's just trying to consolidate and save money.
Okay, so is the assumption then,
It's really economics. When you look at the statute,
okay,
you cannot proceed down this road without proving
Mhm.
economic
Okay.
savings at a public hearing.
okay,
Which I would imagine, we'd probably end up on a, with pies and.
okay. So
Exactly.
let's say then, let's assume the economics are there, okay?
Mhm.
And now you have to choose which employee gets the position. I'm just trying to determine if performance is part of that. Okay. Okay.
What do they mean by performance though? Because I know, and I don't know how it is here, but I know in my world, like, I mean, even if somebody calls for a recommendation, like, the manager who they work for cannot give them like a bad recommendation or else they can turn around and sue the company.
You have to, for example, like one town said, we want to share this person, and
Mhm.
the other town said, I don't know, or, each town is going to have to vote. These are contracts. So
Okay.
each town is going to vote and say, yes, I want my employee, or yes, I want your employee. Yes, I want my employee, or yes, I want your employee. And both have to agree on the person,
Okay.
and then they have to agree together. So whatever each town decides on how they're going to
Okay.
make their decision as a whole, that's what they're going to do.
Thank
Just so you know, the statute says the person who would be dismissed, the dismissal shall be deemed in the interest of economics and efficiency of the participating shared service group. So that's like their reason for termination. That's all.
Right.
No, I totally get that. I totally get the economics comes first, but there are probably things that come after
This
that.
is not a
It's-
method to punish anybody because it would be opening both townships up to
Abs-
serious lawsuits.
Absolutely. I just want to make sure both townships get the
Now-
best
now, I have
service
a-
possible.
I have a question of the councils. Would personnel files be looked at? Would evaluations be looked at?
Hmm.
I mean, it's part of the subcommittees, I guess. As I said, I think focuses on economics. So, you guys can take personalities in terms of, prospective employees into consideration on a township by township basis. But at the end of the day, it has to have economic merit.
Okay. So I hear what you're saying, but it's for each town. There has to be an agreement by both townships that they want the same person. So that.
We
that
have to vote on it.
Yes, I got that. Okay.
Again, everybody needs to be very careful of what they do in order to prevent any lawsuits.
Right. We do not want any lawsuits, yes. Also question, let's say there was an agreement to share, let's say the tax assessor, just for argument's sake. At that point, and the economics are there, how would a salary be determined? Can salaries be right-sized or perfected sized at that point in time? Is that open up for there to be
We can lower salaries.
She's checking into that, she said.
Yeah, there is something in the statute, and I'd have to look at it again, but there is some language about how you set the statute. But it is, like I said, there's the old rules, and then they gave these new rules, but they're not as extensive as the old rules. So it's hard to figure out what replaced the old rules, and then there's these old things hanging out, and trying to kind of cross our streets and dot our i's.
Do you think you'd have an answer for the next meeting? So in other words, there has to be some sort of metrics, and you were talking to it in place to say, what really drives the salary of the clerk? Is it tax revenue coming in? Is it number of people living in the township? There are certain things that are going to drive the amount of work that a clerk does.
No, we're going to have that answer. That's something that when they make these decisions, if they can lower the overall salary total, that's going to make a difference. Then
Certainly.
Okay, we have to keep this salary at a minimum.
Right.
Those are very important.
Okay.
But it'd be difficult to make these comparisons if we don't know which salaries we have to use. Because then we can't make economic assumptions, right?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
No, salaries are a factor. Yes.
Salaries are a factor.
But they're just saying that they don't know how the salaries work. They just said they didn't know,
Exactly.
right? You don't know how that works, you said.
Well, I'm not sure if it's lower.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Here's my view.
Well, say if one person makes $1, the other one makes 50 cents, and then would you have to pay the new person $1, regardless of which person it is? Do you have to pay the highest of the two salaries, or do you pay the lowest of the two salaries, or do you renegotiate?
There's no statutory point in that. This is how I would interpret it, because it's not just this statute, but there are other statutes that affect these individuals. One of which says, which we know entirely well in Pohatcong, I think at this point, is that you can't reduce the salaries of tenured employees. Now that statute remains on the books. So my view of this in terms of tenure and salaries, first of all, these shared services agreements, while they're unique and new to these four positions, are not unique and new. Generally speaking, there's been shared services agreements out there for a long time. As you mentioned, VAs, dog catchers, what have you, they are out there. Generally, the structure of it is going to be, as somebody said before, if this goes forward, the townships will agree jointly, okay, we want your employee. That employee, because they're tenured and their salary is protected, you certainly couldn't go backwards with their salary, in my opinion. But at the same time, you don't have to add both salaries together and give it to that one, otherwise we know you don't have savings. So that is my view, basically. I mean, I agree with Katrina, we should check that with DCA, but whoever is retained will just continue as the employee of that township. They will continue, if they have tenure now, they'll have it then. If they didn't have tenure, they'll earn it or whatever. And their salary may be adjusted upward, but it will not be adjusted down, because they have statutory protection, but the savings would presumably be in not having two separate distinct salaries at total X.
Right.
You have something less.
And we'd be getting money, so say Lopat is the host, we'd get money from Pohat to pay that salary.
Now, council, this is triggered a good discussion.
Yeah.
What if you got to a point where an individual or a role was decided upon, could then that individual negotiate themselves a new salary, higher or lower? With the
salary is being negotiated between the councils. So I think, subject to the parameter that if you pick one, whichever employee you pick, presuming that they're statutory protected even without tenure consideration. So statutory protected from having their salary or benefits or vacation days, and says there's rules and regs on.
No, I understand that, but could they voluntarily?
They're protected, but they're not slaves.
They could voluntarily.
They could negotiate, I mean, they could ask for more.
They could ask for more.
Then you gotta be careful of, you raise one, you gotta raise the others.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, that's the problem too. Does that come into play? Like if we do negotiate like a higher salary, does that mean the other statutory employees also go up because they went up?
You might be able to get around that.
I don't see
but
what's going
No way. It's another town. You're adding another town, and what I see is, so you keep the one town, you have to keep their employee at their base salary, and then you're gonna add in, Pohat and add another $10,000 to their salary. Well, Pohat was paying $50,000 before, and so it doesn't mean that Lopat's got the 80 and Pohat's got the 20 if the workload isn't there. So we have to iron all that out, figure out where their salaries can be set, and how you figure out who pays it, and then when the agreement's over, how does that get apportioned out? That could be.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's an awful lot to iron out, and there's no guidelines.
Yeah. There are a lot of guidelines.
I've seen how some of these arrangements, these joint arrangements, like for a court or something, can really get complicated. And I don't want to run into that. I don't want to find out that we enter into something and then it's completely wrong.
That's why I said the data is very important.
Yes, and also just to finish up, so I'm really glad that we just had this last bit of conversation, because it really drives home, the last point I want to make is that shared services should not be considered just for the sake of it.
That's right.
Really need to have some careful consideration to make sure these services are going to indeed save both townships money. Job description set for the position, and it really needs to be crafted and evaluated, and definitely clear goals with measurable outcomes would be lovely. We need to ascertain right now if each job is already being efficiently and effectively handled with the one person in the township, and then consider if one person could then successfully manage both of the combined job descriptions. And clearly having reporting structures for these employees and a shared service agreement needs to be in place, meaning that evaluation of the position should be equally shared between the municipalities. And I was very surprised to hear that you're saying we're locked into a 2-year agreement. There's no trial period on this
No.
pilot program?
It's
the trial.
That's actually the benefit of the
Yeah.
employee that would be.
That is the trial.
To give them enough time?
Well, I think frankly, it makes sense to me. The legislature does not want this statute to be used as a sham
Mhm.
to get rid of a tenured employee.
Right.
And then 6 months later, everybody wink, wink, nod, nod, you disband.
Right, right.
So what they set up is that you have to have a minimum of 2 years. If you back out of the contract prior to that, you're statutorily
Yes.
required to offer
Mhm.
your dismissed employee
Oh.
their job
Yes.
back.
Oh, that's interesting.
All their
benefits and pay increases. So
It's like it never
that was
happened.
put in place actually to make sure it's to.
Okay. And again, now that I've heard that it's 2 years, because I thought maybe you could do a 6-month or 1
No,
year,
absolutely not.
if you absolutely cannot, then really, really need to take your time on evaluating this. This is not something that I don't think anybody should be jumping into within a couple of months.
I think we're all qualified, and we know we have to look at the data, but thank
Okay.
you for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks, Lori.
One of my questions for attorneys would be, who conducts the evaluation of these employees? 'Cause
Mhm.
What,
Part of the
presently, we have a town that does, I think, do you do,
No.
you don't do them either? All right, so nobody does them. So I guess there wouldn't be
Not
any.
a school.
What?
So we're not a school.
No, we're a municipality.
To be honest, like, just to say, one of the things, I think why a lot of people don't have the evaluations is because, we're all elected and it's political. And some of us like some people that work here and some don't. So it's not like we're hired, and there's anything holding us accountable. It really isn't. So I think that's part of why a lot of towns don't do evaluations, because they would most likely be biased.
Well,
This
to
is my
that
2
point,
cents.
we have to set policy, not
Mhm.
administration. And the problem is we don't have an administrator to actually deal, aside from our police chief, that he does evaluations of the officers, and our DPW head does the evaluation of our public works, but we don't have actual evaluations of.
Yeah, and a lot of these positions are run, they're protected by statute, by state, and the state will come in and if the performance is bad.
Especially these statutory
Mhm.
positions, we track the performance.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these, their associations, like the clerk
Mhm.
association, the assessment association, they tell you, oh, no, you don't have the right.
Oh, yeah, the assessor reports basically to the governor, not us.
Right,
Yeah.
assessor.
Mhm.
Well, on the first report, the ECF.
Yes, yeah.
So
Mhm,
they're
yeah.
disciplinary for that action. So, the agreement would certainly provide whoever employee stays, that township would essentially be responsible to at least process any disciplinary issues
Mhm.
or performance issues, if you will. But there's always certainly a provision in any shared service agreement or anything else that whoever township, it's not their employee, if they have an issue, they usually work through the other townships, council, and hopefully try to get it resolved that way first.
Okay, are there any more questions out there among the audience? Kinda.
I don't know, it's so new to me today, so.
Okay.
Linda Zimmer, 4th Street, Dillsburg, Lopat. What's gonna happen to the buildings? Maybe this is a dumb
No,
question, but,
that would be a merger of the townships. This is just,
but I mean, the clerk, if you have the clerk go from Lopat to Pohat, and the tax assessors stay here, are we gonna be traveling,
No, in a
No.
shared service, they'll be in both buildings.
oh, you will?
like certain
have-
days, yeah, one day here, one day there, like that, yeah.
Ah,
Position, it may be one of those where you can call either town for the tax collector, or maybe no, you have to wait until Tuesdays. Well, that would all be worked out in the agreement.
so how are you gonna save money if half the time they're here and half the time they're there, and you got electric and all that? How are you saving money?
There's still a lot of people, there would still be a lot of people
Well, I know
here.
the police
Yeah,
department
yeah.
is here, but
We always need to have somebody actually here in the office, and they already do that now, because there's essentially just one person per office, except for we have a clerk and we have a deputy clerk, and they have to work it out with vacations and lunch times even, to make sure that at least there's somebody here when you walk into the building. And we would still do that.
Certain towns that in the summertime, they'll close down on Friday.
Mhm.
And they save some money on salaries, for some of their employees, because they will pay less for summertime, they're not working on Friday. Of course, the clerk, the assessor, the collector, and the CFO still get paid the same amount of money, they don't have to Fridays, but then they don't run the electric in the municipal building, then they don't have the police who have to come up and check on them and do all that stuff. So maybe that's how it works out. Maybe there's one day a week you go to your municipal building. Maybe that's not what you want for your residents. You have to look at each position, look at how it's needed.
Right.
It's a process.
Like right now, our tax assessor is only actually here 2 days a week. So those other 3 days, you already have that there's, not here. And we would try to give similar service. Yeah.
I live right across the street.
Right,
I
yeah.
see how busy this building
yeah,
is.
no. Mhm.
I mean, I can sit at my kitchen table and watch everybody coming in here.
Right.
Are we all going to have to, as senior citizens, again, travel to Pohat? No.
That's something we want,
That
yeah.
far, but.
We want to make sure you don't have to do that, so we would have to make sure we did, that's something we have to take into consideration. We don't want there to be a loss of service, certainly not.
Because
Yeah.
this place is very busy,
Mhm.
very busy. Okay, then. Well,
Rob Larson, 26 Browning Court. I think the idea and the concept of shared services is great. However, I think there's a lot to it that needs to be tended to. And just from the round of questions that came up tonight, basically every line item of every person and every responsibility needs to be evaluated. The cost needs to be associated based on town size. There's so much involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe, you're in your 4th month in office. I think it's a premature move for the town to really consider this truthfully. I'm going to be very honest with you, and this is no reflection on you, Mayor. I'm just speaking regarding our town business and at the level things have been dealt with and tended to and accomplished over the last few months. I think we should really take a close look at getting all of the other unresolved business that's going on in town done first. And this is probably something, and again, in my opinion, and a little bit I know of how things go and what transpires in this municipality, I think this would be something that would better serve us if we looked at it in about 6 months. Because at that point in time, truthfully, you would have a better idea of what you're doing. I think we'd resolve all the other issues that have been tabled. We'd resolve some of the other problems we've been having as far as agreeing on the questions that have come up during council and above the agenda and all these other things that we've been dealing with in Lopat. And the other part, I never thought I'd actually say this, is I want to agree with what Marla said. A two-year term is a long time. And, if we're going to strap ourselves into this rodeo, that's a long ride. If the stage isn't set properly, I think it could be a recipe for disaster, truthfully. So with that said, I really think council should slow the roll down as far as onboarding this. I think the concept is great, but I think that there's a lot more things we need to resolve first in Lopatcong, and then maybe take a look at this at a later point in time.
I agree with you.
I agree.
That's what we've been saying, that we don't think we don't want to have this move too quickly, and that's why the upcoming meeting being too close, I think, doesn't give us enough time to even address this stuff. Yeah, yes, sir.
Highlands Way. A couple things. Rob, I wanted to say the same thing. I cannot believe I agree with you, but I do. I think it's way too early. We have way too much stuff going on. I don't think it's right now. I have a couple things, though, which I like to ask, and I don't know if or if not they are fine. The clerk from Pohat is currently in a lawsuit with their town. Is that correct?
No, we're not.
Well, it wasn't in the paper. I want to know if, but there's, so I'm not sure if that would in any way apply, and I would hope that that is not part of why you are discussing shared services at this point in time. For the last 3 years, I was advised by our council that our clerk, Beth, is overworked, irreplaceable, cannot do one thing more. Beth is running our pool, and I personally would be heartbroken if I don't see her on a Friday here, because I've gotten so used to you. The running of the pool itself, do we have to hire a person? Is that something which is factored in?
Nothing's been factored in yet.
But it should be factored in, Lorraine, when you make your we would then need somebody. I don't think you are able to run our pool, or?
I can swear.
So, if you did, yeah, so, That is one thing, and if it's just for the tax collector and for the tax assessor, I mean, if we combine these, we save our town $50,000, and I think that's what you guys will be spending in advertising these meetings.
I know.
So I'm not really sure what you guys, if it's just for the tax assessor, who also seems to be controversial these days, and I'm not sure if that is part of the whole shenanigans here. But if it's just for $15,000 a year, we don't have to do
Who
it.
said $15,000?
I don't know. Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 25, but I don't think it's worth our while to even discuss this.
I don't think we should save money.
Huh?
You don't think you should attempt to save money?
$15,000?
It's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to me. Maybe not to
It's not a
you,
lot
it's
to
a lot to me. Oh, God bless.
That's pretty much it.
We just had someone come up here and said every penny counts for him. He's on fixed.
Lou, we just had an issue where we thought we can get $65,000 for a fire truck, and you guys wanted to sell it for $6,000. That's a lot more than $15,000, and was not important for you guys to even think about. Now you're concerned about 15 grand?
That isn't true that the truck is worth 65,000. Let's find out what we get for it before we throw
I'm
some
just
numbers
saying.
out there.
Completely
Yeah,
off
that's
topic.
what we're going off the subject here.
I can go off subject as much as I want. So that's it, Tom, all right? Thank you. Okay, I forgot something, excuse me. One thing I have to add, one of the things you said is that the sharing would be purely economic? Yes, you said that. It's purely an economic thing.
What I'm saying is that's what the statute.
Okay, if it's purely an economic thing, should be not the clerk who's making less money automatically be the one considered?
No, it's not on that.
Why not?
Well,
That would save both towns the most. I would assume that you feel that you're as qualified as Beth, right? Even though I know you're not, but you thoroughly feel like it, right? So, and if they both feel they're equally qualified, the person who makes the less money, I don't even know why we have to discuss any further. Should be done. Both equally qualified, she makes less money, she's gonna save both towns the most amount of money, and that's it.
It isn't just about the money, it's for who brings most to the table.
I think the council of Poet said it's a purely economic decision. Yes, so.
Dismissal.
That's not the same.
Yes. Provide service.
Mhm.
I think you heard them say that. I think that was asked. Are they going to consider other things? I think Marla was in favor of them considering other things. The reason for dismissal. You can't let someone go and not save money. That's basically what the statute.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Otherwise, it'd be no point to have this. You would just pick the lower salary person.
Yeah, that would have been easy.
Yeah,
It was just,
that's not what it is.
it's just,
That almost is what it is. You know, I'm not in, I can't say that I'm in favor of, yeah, let's go, yay, shared service. You know, I'm not going that route. I don't know necessarily if all three of these jobs, 4 jobs, 1 job, we don't know how this is going to work out. And just because we're allowed to do this shared service now does not mean that it's feasible. It doesn't mean that we should just run and do it because it's a shared service. There are a lot of factors in this, and yes, money is always the first factor, but you know, you have to look at, is it truly going to save this township money? Will it truly save the township money? And if it doesn't, it is not, it shouldn't be done. It just shouldn't be done. So we have these things on the table. That doesn't necessarily mean we should all go for it. Maybe one of these jobs would be beneficial. Maybe the clerk's job is not the job that needs to be shared. There's so many things, which is why, as some of the folks said, I don't want to rush into these meetings and let's go and let's get this information and let's make this decision. I don't think that's wise. I think there's so much that needs to be looked at. And if we rush into this, it will be in haste. And I think we need to take our time. I believe we need to take our time with this. There is no timeline. There's no one saying we have to do this in 60 days. There is no rush for this. So for everyone to want to rush into and do this is just in haste. I think we need to make educated and smart decisions.
I agree with Donna.
That's not going to happen with the 30-day mark of.
I agree with Donna. I think when we came here, we thought we were going to discuss this in theory and like let everyone know what's available to us, not that we were going to try to implement it in 30 days. And I don't think we should try to implement in 30 days. I think we'll screw it up.
Just say we're implementing in 30 days, we're just saying we're meeting in 30 days.
We have another meeting.
To
in 30
review,
days,
yeah.
not-
Well, I think we should push that meeting back. I don't think it's enough time.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Carrie. I'm reading the tax collector in the Township of Pohatcong and in the Borough of Alpha. I've been a tax collector. I've been my 25th year of tax collecting. I would like to just point out, I understand the philosophy of saving the taxpayer money. I'm totally behind helping our taxpayers in both Pohatcong and Alpha with the rebate programs, the veterans and senior deductions that are out there, anything possible to save the taxpayer money. I work with them. I also want to bring to light that you should also be looking into the quality of the person at the job and the professionalism of the person that is handling the job and what they pass on to the residents, our taxpayers.
I concur, and I don't know how we could do that from what I heard from council. I'm sorry. Well, I'm trying to answer your question.
You can put whatever you want on paper, but I think the majority of it should be looked into the person itself handling the position for the taxpayer, because that's who the important person is here. All differences aside, it's the taxpayer who suffers. Thank you.
Okay. And that brings up my biggest problem with this, is if we can't evaluate the person, and that's what I think council told me, how do we decide who that might be? And if we can't determine whether or not that person is already doing the job in one town properly, then how could we ever guess that they could do it properly in two towns?
Well, this is why we have this committee, and we have a subcommittee to look at this. And that's what the committees.
Yeah, we have committees now. How would you suggest these committees go about to determine those things?
Call the Department of Community Affairs, they set up this program.
I'm sorry that I'm asking again, but all the discussion that's occurred since I spoke, I just don't, can some people speak as to why you called this meeting? You must have had some thoughts as to why this would work. So you had concerns about what was going on in your townships, not just the thought that, oh, we could save money, we'll get together and talk, because obviously it costs money just to get together. And just an aside is, if you're going to have your meetings at the same time as a township meeting, you can't use that advertising money to just put in a sentence that you're going to have your meeting also and not pay extra.
We advertise for all our regular meetings, so we have to especially advertise.
If I'm going to sit down, I would like to hear why you called the meeting, what you say would work.
Mayor Kern called the meeting.
Well, I mean, aside from I think from the POHA perspective, we've kind of just been sitting back and watching this. But the fact alone that we got Lorraine tonight to at least put together some type of financial information for all these positions, I think is a step. I mean, the notion that we shouldn't meet at all is absurd, because then we'd be in the same place. We're looking to see if this works. I don't think anyone in Pohatcong has, and I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but we have no agreement in place. We have employees. We want to talk about sharing any of these positions that are discussed. We want to see if it will work. We don't know if it'll work. And, you know, we have a dance partner in Lopatcong Township who has a similar form of governing body. I mean, I don't think we would want to do a deal with Phillipsburg. It's just not something that we would prefer to do. But Lopatcong is something that we always felt that was very similar to us. We just had a very, aside from the state regulation problems with our court, we're moving forward with that, and that was because we, just like this, we called a joint meeting. We had a discussion. We called in our financial people. We took a look at numbers. We saw what was going to work, and we're going to have a shared court between the two communities. So the reason for calling a meeting is to start a dialogue, an open and transparent dialogue. I don't think it would behoove our residents if I emailed Lorraine and CC'd Mayor McKay and say, hey, let's pull up the numbers to see how much our clerks make, and let's see how much the assessors make, and let's see where we can save money, and then boom, next thing you know, there's a shared service. The idea is so you can see all the dirty laundry and the discussion and the thoughts and have that all in public so that if it doesn't work, we tried. So when it comes to the budget session next year and someone comes up and says, well, why didn't you try sharing the clerk? We can say, we did. Or why wasn't the tax collector discussed with sharing with another municipality? It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be feasible. It wouldn't save us money, but we looked at it. And it would be a disservice, I think, if we don't look at these shared services. And that is always where we always are interested in talking, but not necessarily signing on a dotted line. That's, I think, where Pohatcong will come down on this.
Can I ask you, Mayor Kern, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or smart here, but can I ask why when we tried to do a shared service with the CFO, that did not work, and now we're trying again with 3 or 4 other positions? I don't know I don't know what happened and why that didn't work, and why your folks didn't seem to even know about a shared service, according to the newspaper article. I'm just, it's a little concerning to me that didn't work out, but here we are again trying to do the same thing.
I don't know what the newspaper article said, but I do know of the shared service for our CFO, and was against it because we're perfectly happy with what we're paying her, the hours that she works. There's no reason to share her with anyone.
So you're saying for your other positions, you're not happy with what you're paying?
Other positions we can take a look at, but as far as she's concerned, we were happy with the way.
Well, to that point too, we had in that position, we had just hired our CFO separate, and we were in a situation that if we would have done a shared service with Lopatcong under the current, it would have cost us more. I mean, that's quite simply what it was. The way we came in, the CFO was being shared between 2 other municipalities. We picked her up on another day, and we got her for a certain rate, and the deal with Lopatcong would have cost us more in the end after reviewing it. So we felt that in that case, it wasn't advantageous. I mean,
which is a good criteria for any.
Exactly.
It doesn't save both of us money.
Right, exactly. You weren't paying her benefits, and if you entered into the agreement with us, you were going to have to pay for her benefits,
and that
so it
would
would
have
have
been
cost you money.
Sure. We didn't get all the logistics on why that wasn't a successful attempt. So thanks for clarifying some of that. Yeah, well, we didn't, it was proposed to us that we were doing a shared service, and then the week later it was, well, our next meeting, we're not doing a shared service. So,
I thought it was articulated.
It wasn't. Actually, none of those details were ever divulged in our meeting.
You can go back to check on these.
Yeah, go ahead, but that was not in the minutes.
Go ahead, I was there.
Yes, so was I.
Oh, you missed it.
Maureen, this is not Maureen, I wasn't directing this to you.
Okay.
I'm just asking Mayor Kern, and this is what I'm asking, okay?
We're not talking here.
What are we doing?
Excuse me.
Peter.
Everyone's talking.
We're not talking to the audience right now.
I was making a joke about me.
Yeah, we're not discussing.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
If the tax collector is not here all the time, are you going to have a tax collector that's going to be available 5 days a week to cover both areas and pay her the same salary? In other words, this tax collector, say she's only here 2 days a week, and yours is there 3 days a week. This tax collector is going to have to work 5 days a week now, whoever you pick.
Right.
She's not going to work for the same salary, or he, I don't know. I know who are at the time. She's not going to work for the same salary, so you can't expect, you're not going to take money. Oh, you were talking about salaries, taking money away.
We don't think
She's going to be working more days. Same way with the clerks and whatever. I don't know what their schedules are, but 5 days a week, somewhere along the line, both these municipalities have to be covered.
We will work out all the details in the agreements. Each town is going to have, each town will have the position filled.
Nope.
Each town will have the position filled. And in some towns, we already have some towns that there is one person doing the same job in 5 towns, and it's not shared service.
So
Because these people, some of these positions, not speaking for these, some of these work part-time. So it works out because in some towns they work Monday, Tuesday, another town they work Wednesday, Thursday, another town they work
Cover
Friday.
2 municipalities?
Oh, they, some positions cover more.
How do they do that?
They-
And we pay taxes for all of them?
We pay for our portion, so
We
if we
pay
have,
for our share.
yeah.
But all the
Are we
details will be
getting-
ironed out.
Are we being taken care of?
That's
Absolutely.
the most important part, is because we have to make sure that we're being taken care of. I liken this to this is the state's answer to the statutes that they put in place to protect these employees, and now they have the 2% cap. You know, these employees, you can take away their salary, you can't do anything to finagle with that. But at the same time, over in corporate America, people are being like, okay, we had 5 people in a department, now we have 3, but you still have the same amount of work, if not more. So there's been a lot of that pressure on the state to alleviate the burden on the taxpayer, and
Sure,
we don't
then
know
you
if
have-
it'll work.
Then you have people who don't want to do it,
Right.
and they quit, and then
Mhm.
you got to train somebody
That's
else,
right.
and the
Mhm.
money keeps going up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, it really is.
Yes, after,
Go ahead, Eric.
Hello, Eric Johnson, 361 Stonehenge Drive. I actually came here just to watch and gather information. I had no intention of making a comment, but then I thought about it. You guys missed me on April 1st, right? So here I am. I'm here to talk. One of the comments I heard was that we're looking for a description. What does everybody do? You know, what are some of their job titles? And I started thinking that does this make sense, possibly on a whole other level? We should know what everybody's doing. For example, if my boss came to me and said, Mr. Johnson, what do you do in your 40 hours of work in 1 week? And I told him, well, 6 of those hours I spend photocopying. He would tell me not to photocopy anymore. So maybe we need to look at these positions and say, wait, at this salary, this person really shouldn't be doing this. Let's get an assistant. And that could be a way to save money also.
yes,
So as we're gathering this information, more things might come to light, and I just wanted to bring that up. And let's look at the whole big picture on this one too. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Peter?
I would like to comment on Mayor Kern's, what he said, and I have one question. I think the whole process, I think we have a shared service committee, and if you spoke to our mayor, he probably would have you directed to Donna and then Lou, and I think we could have gotten a process like that to talk about things in place without wasting 1 cent for either your people or mine. I'm not sure I learned anything today here. I also would like to clarify with your discussion about the CFO, is your goal in Pohat to save dollar on every shared service employee you guys get? Or is there a chance that you would say, okay, then we have to adjust it and we have to spend $10,000 more? Or is your goal really to save on every one of them as much as you can?
If you're not going to save money, there's no sense in doing it.
Okay, that's absolutely right. If you don't save any money, why would you do it?
And just procedurally,
So that would mean if we have one higher employee person than you, I still don't know why we have the discussion here. If you want to save money and that's your main concern, we cannot.
With no dialogue, you have to just ask, make a
Make a
statement.
comment.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, this whole meeting is about, to move forward and find out if it's feasible for both townships.
It's transparent about
And we want to, bring this before the public here. This way you guys know what's going on up here in both towns. To see, bring our thoughts and ideas and opinions together. Some of you guys came up here and had some great ideas, and that will be considered, obviously. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to see if it's feasible. If it's not feasible, then it's not going to work, and then this would be scrapped. But at least we tried.
Just we can tell our taxpayers we tried, and we did it in the most transparent manner possible, so you can all be here and be a part of it.
And look at every option. So there should be no stone that's overturned.
I wouldn't say that we just tried it so that we could say to our taxpayers,
No,
we tried.
right.
I mean, I think we should honestly look at it.
Mhm.
I mean, from my perspective, 565 municipalities all doing the same thing is just, no business would run that way.
No.
Our taxpayers deserve better. They have to pay for 565 sets of 4 people to read everything. And it's just not economic. It's not fair to our taxpayers not to look into ways to save money. We should.
Then that the people, the 4 people in all these counties aren't spending their whole day working. If they're all working, then if you have combined services, it doesn't you're still gonna have that same number of people working in it, all of the efficient.
That's my big question. That's what I keep saying. If it's not being, if the people that have these jobs now just about can manage, they have not another second, how can we split the job in half and expect the same person to do that in two places? It's just,
Maybe we have to.
so we're gonna have to hire other people, and it's.
Is that, you know that that's true in 565 municipalities?
No, I don't.
Four employees.
No, I don't believe.
Every one of them is.
I don't know if that's true anywhere. That's what I'm told.
Or it may be even structurally, everybody, all those 2,000 people are working hard. Doesn't mean that if you could change the job around to make it more efficient.
Right.
Right. And that's why so much work is needed to
And
do
I think,
this.
you know, Eric Johnson makes the point, you know, if you have a high-paid player doing photocopying, you're wasting resources. It's not efficient.
That's why we need to know what everyone does. We need detailed job descriptions, and then we have to start dividing out those jobs if we're going to make shared services with people that are so overwhelmed now that they can't do what they got. Otherwise, it just won't work.
That's right.
And that's what I want to see done. I don't want to see it just be some political thing that just, you know, somebody told me to do something for favor for somebody and I'm going to do it, because that's just going to make things worse. I mean, if we're going to go through this process, we have to know what the people do, write it out, and then decide, okay, the core number of things that we wish done in both townships are these. Everything else we've taken out of that job, and we have to have other people do it. And then you have to determine each town, can we do that? Do we have the people around to pick up these additional jobs that no longer are going to be done by this? And if that doesn't work, then you can't do it. And that's, you know, my big concern. I think the subcommittees have to get to that. They have to get that list of all the duties that are done by these core positions, the three positions that we have. And then we have to look at that, and they have to decide what are the core positions, what are the core responsibilities of these three positions, and that's what these people are going to do. And then is it possible to share that in two places? Can they replicate that in two places, one person? And then, okay, maybe they can. They determine they can. And then we have to see all these responsibilities and duties that we've peeled away. Who's going to do them? And
If we peel anything away, yeah, we have to do that.
well, we have to peel them away, because otherwise, I mean, if you have someone that's so overwhelmed they can't do what they got to do now, how can they possibly do that in two places? They can't. So that's what I think.
Yeah, we need
Yeah,
to.
we'll close. Yeah, motion to close public comment.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Procedurally, then we just would go for an adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.